Let's talk about Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross, the second and final book in the Letters of Enchantment duology after Divine Rivals, which I already discussed in my last Let's Talk About video. So we go right into Ruthless Vows, and please be aware this video contains spoilers. I want to discuss the whole book, even if not in every detail. And this video follows my last 4 Read With Me videos where I read the whole book, and maybe you've read it with me. So let's talk about how the story of Iris and Roman continues here. And the first thing I want to say here is that I had some critique on book 1, and everything I criticized at the end of book 1 was checked here in book 2, and I love book 2 for that. If you haven't seen my video on Divine Rivals, I criticized that we had a big Roman story and that I saw no need for it to be fantasy romance or romantasy, because the fantasy aspect was pretty much non existent. The only thing that we needed for the story were the magical typewriters, so they could exchange their letters, but everything else not necessary for the story in book 1. And I said that magical realism would have fitted the whole book better, but that changes with Ruthless Vows. I already said at the end of Divine Rivals that I already had the feeling that this would change based on the last few chapters of Divine Rivals, where we got introduced to the plots of book 2. And I was right with that. The gods that are in war here have a way more important role now for the story and are much more involved. So also the magic plays a much more bigger and important role, especially after all what happened to Roman. He almost died in book 1, but the god rescued him, healed him, and he is only alive because of this god. I had to look up the names of the gods again that are fighting here. We have Enva and Dacre, and Enva didn't want to be together with Dacre, so Dacre wants revenge now, but he acts like he is the good person, not the one that started this whole war, but the one that wants to rescue all these people from Enva, and they don't need to be rescued. Everything was okay before he started this war. And in book 1, Roman and Iris are both war correspondents on Enva's side. But now in book 2, Roman is on Dacre's side because Dacre healed him and with that has power over him now. So he forces Roman to be his war correspondent, to write articles in his name. And his biggest power to influence Roman is that Roman lost his memory with the healing. But he knows pretty quickly that there is something that he forgot that he needs to remember, and that is his first big love, Iris, who is very concerned, and she really wants to get him back to be together with him, to live a quiet life after this whole war, but that is not that easy. So, with that setting for book two, we have less romance part, much more drama and action, much more war scenes and actual fighting. And that were all the things that I've missed in book one. So I was very happy with Ruthless Vows, with the change of topics here, because I think that side of war that we saw here was way more realistic and sensitive, which doesn't mean that things weren't true for book one. We just had a different focus of the story, and that was the love story, which is still a focus in book two, but not that much. And the whole world building and the plot take a bigger role now, which I prefer. And it was almost a bit like a Romeo and Juliet love story here in book two. But I'm very glad that it didn't end like Romeo and Juliet, that we had our happy end here, even if I shed a few tears when Ira's brother Forrest died in this war, in this last big battle. You can see me crying in the Read With Me videos here, because I got very emotional when we got to the point where the bombs destroyed the city, when we knew some of our favorite side characters were in danger, and I was sure that not everybody will survive this. But that also made the story more realistic, in my opinion, with this whole war setting. And even if the books are no highlight for me, I'm very glad that I've read Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows now. And I very, very much enjoyed this story. And I loved the writing of Rebecca Ross. That was a highlight for me. And I think I will read more of her books in the future. I'm pretty sure there is a prequel to the Letters of Enchantment duology that is out. I just forgot the name of it. I need to look that up again, which is okay. But for now, that's it for Ruthless Vows. Everything I wanted to talk about. I know there is a lot more to the story than what I've talked about, but as I said, I didn't want to go into too much detail. I just want to share my excitements, my concerns, and talk about the moments that made me emotional, which I did here. So that leaves only one question now, which is what I will read next in my Thursday Read With Me videos. And I decided to read The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. I know next to nothing about the book, except that everyone who I saw reading this book loved it. So I wanted to give it a try, and I will read it over the next 4 Thursdays before I talk to you about it. So I can't wait to do that. But for now, that's it. I'm glad that I've read Ruthless Vows. Please let me know in the comments if you have read the Letters of Enchantment duology. How did you like the duology in general? How did you like the books itself? Because they have a different vibe. And I remember that they were people who didn't like the change of focus for book two, but I was a fan of it. And the last thing I want to say here is like the video if you wanna follow my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye.